That's a big ass fish. That's a monster, Mike. Good job.
And that's why we're obviously outdoorsmen. And what goes on, everybody? We are back in the saddle. I am Mike with Obviously Outdoorsman. This is the Obviously Outdoorsman podcast, and this is First Light Talk number 33. If you guys are new to the Obviously Outdoorsman podcast, we like to start things off with a current news article, and then we get into the current topic of the day, which is FLT number 33. And if you are also new, you have 32 podcasts to catch up on, and you can find these whether you are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, or on YouTube for the video version. And if you guys are new as well, please subscribe, please follow us, and just share the video or comment, just engage with us and let us know what you guys want. We are making these videos for you guys to teach in any way possible and just sharing the hunting culture with whoever we can. So I am Mike with Obviously Outdoorsman, and back to the First Light Talk. All right, today's current news article. All right, the title is Aerial Hunting of Wolves Legal in Montana. All right, aerial hunting and wolf hunting via aircraft is now legal under state law in Montana. Montana Fish and Wildlife and Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks are facing a lawsuit from two advocacy groups over discrepancies in the wolf regulations, which was a whole can of worms in itself. But when the wolf hunting regulations were reviewed, they found that state law specifically prohibited aerial hunting, thermal and infrared technologies for hunting big game and fur bearers. But after deeper examination, animals like elk or mountain lion are classified as big game. Bobcats and beavers are classified as fur bearers. Wolves are the only animal in the state of Montana classified as quote-unquote species in need of management by the state of Montana. So many laws that apply to other game animals like elk, bear, and beaver, and coyotes, and whatever else simply don't apply to wolves. So essentially, no laws were even really changed, all right? They just kind of made it a point like, listen, this is not classified under big game or predator. It's classified under species in need of management. So there was no plan for them. There was really no regulations for them. So they basically were taking out of these regulations where aerial hunting and thermal and infrared technologies, they previously were not allowed when they really could have been allowed this whole time. So essentially, no laws were even changed. This is how it was set up. But originally, there was a bunch of pushback with the game mindset, but now that it's clear as day as a species in need of management and it's not a game animal, there are all of these new methods legally in place. Right? There are a bunch of other detailed legal and technical stuff in this article, and if you guys want to look at this article, if you guys are watching on YouTube, in the description below there will be the link to this article, and if you guys are just listening, you can find it at RAVALLI republic.com. So that is ravallipublic.com. And again, the description and link, it will be listed down below in the video. But it was just really just a misread in all of these laws that originally were illegal to use under like everyone's mindset. Like, listen, you can't aerial hunt from them, you can't hunt from aircraft, you can't use infrared or night vision or anything. But then they looked into it and it's not even under big game or anything else, so everything was now opened up. And I mentioned earlier when they were facing the lawsuit, it was just a whole bunch of different stuff going on, and for me to explain it, it would be in a whole half-hour podcast in itself. So I just wanted to basically round it up. I thought that was an interesting article. Aerial hunting of wolves legal in Montana. You could hunt them at night, you could hunt them with infrared, and you could hunt them from a helicopter if you want to. That would be absolutely insane to watch. Right, I don't know if I would do it, but I'm sure someone out there would definitely do all three things, from flying a helicopter at night with infrared and just insanely just hunting wolves. That would be insane to watch. But back to today's topic. Bucks driven by testosterone. When you hear deer and hormone in the same sentence, that hormone is almost always testosterone. And when hunters get excited about it, it is because of the rut. That is how it's correlated. When we think testosterone and hunting, it's the rut. And that's when a buck's testosterone just skyrockets. But their testosterone does more than just mega boost their sex drive, right? Their testosterone fluctuates throughout the year, and there's a whole rhyme and reason and scientific data behind it, right? During the beginning of the spring months, a buck's testosterone is above average to begin their antler growth cycle. And through the rest of spring and the beginning of the summer months, it declines and it remains low. All right, it's the lowest that it's really going to be. And then through the midsummer months, it sharply starts to increase and reaches a point in late summer or early fall where their antlers start to harden. And after that, it continues to increase through September, October, and early November, where it peaks. And at that peak is the classic main peak rut. And very soon after it peaks, it will sharply decline through late fall and early winter in the winter months. And this is where it bottoms out back to like the lowest levels, and bucks shed their antlers because of it. And the change in daylight hours and temperature changes influence testosterone as well on when it will rise and fall. Hence why northern states have a different rut time frame compared to southern states. So like New Jersey rut is like late October around Halloween through like the first week or 2 weeks of November. That's when the peak rut is, compared to Florida, where there's like 15 different, if you cut the state into like 15 different sections, right, each time or area has a different peak rut because of the weather and what type of temperature it will have throughout the year. So it is vastly different from like northern regions to southern regions, on just for the fact of temperature changes and everything else. All right, that is why the testosterone will fluctuate based on the amount of daytime there is and the temperature that it will experience. And bucks' testosterone are low compared to cooling temps in the fall. All right, during warmer, hotter weather mixed with long daytime hours, bucks' testosterones are low compared to cooling temps in the fall, where they begin their rise in temps to where it starts switching to getting dark early and short daylight hours of the winter, where their testosterone drops off. So basically, long daytime hours and hot weather, their testosterone is low. And then as soon as it starts cooling with the long daytime hours, it will start to increase. And right at the very end of where it starts getting cold and right before like daylight saving times, that's basically when it's at its peak. And then once it switches and it's shorter daylight hours and super cold weather, that's when it starts to really just plummet their testosterone level, and that's when they start shedding. And testosterone also has a huge effect on behavior, obviously. And when their testosterone levels are low, they are calmer, less aggressive, and this goes across many species in the animal kingdom. But as these levels rise in deer, that's when the magic happens in the woods for hunters, all right? And think about it like this. There is a pre-rut, there's a main rut or peak rut, and there is a post-rut. So pre-rut, peak rut, and post-rut. Pre-rut is caused by rising testosterone levels, where bucks start to get aggressive, they begin to spar, make rubs, make scrapes, they get territorial, and they start checking does, and they start asserting their dominance, and all these actions increase and get more aggressive to where peak rut is. And where test levels are at their max, they're at their highest, that is the maximum breeding time. That is when their testosterone levels have peaked. So basically the rut is just a massive just U of testosterone levels if you put it in a chart, to where as soon as you see it start increasing and it starts getting towards that peak, right, that whole incline piece is the pre-rut, like that tail end of the increase is the pre-rut, and then the peak rut obviously, and then as soon as it starts to plummet, that first tail end of that plummet is going to be the post-rut. And during that peak rut, that is when bucks are most aggressive, that's when they are most dominant, and it's the maximum breeding time, and they are more willing to respond to sounds of a fight or of a challenger, sense of a challenger. That's when they are willing just to duke it out and go balls to the wall and just risk their life to just assert their dominance and get a chance at breeding. And that ties in the post-rut. post-rut hits and their testosterone drops off to basically nothing, and they get way less aggressive, and they focus back on just living. They focus on food and warmth. All right. And high extended testosterone levels for deer come with a price for bucks. All right. At this time, they really increase the chances of death and injury, and can lose from like 25 to 40% of body weight with a very hard rut. All just for a chance at breeding, all just for a breeding opportunity. All right. There's lab research done that 15% of bucks that are mature will die from natural causes during the rut in a given population. And as bucks age, their quote-unquote peak testosterone levels will increase each year they get older and become the highest in ages around 5 to 7. Hence why mature bucks are the baddest, the meanest, and being more dominant will just yield higher breeding opportunities. So if you just think about it, and if you guys are watching on YouTube, then this chart is going to be on the screen of just the testosterone levels and what months it comes through. And if you guys are listening on an audio platform, it basically just, if you start it from January to December, then in the beginning of the year where it's like January, and in most states there's like snow on the ground and it's cold and it's winter, at that time, that is when it starts at the lowest in like January. Their testosterone level is at the lowest. It will peak up through like late February. That's when they really start the growing process. And then through like March, April, where they just start budding out of their foreheads of their antlers. That's when it spikes just a little bit. And then through the remainder of the spring, like April, May, and the beginning of June, that's when it goes back to the lowest. And then from June to peak rut, it's just a steady incline of testosterone levels. It will just steadily climb and climb and climb. And that's when peak or pre-rut will begin in like probably September, late September through early October, right around that peak. And then as soon as it peaks in like late October, early November, that's when it just sharply declines from late November through December and back to January, where their testosterone levels are just like plummeted at the lowest, where they just need to survive, and they're focused on food and they're focused on getting warm. They're not focused on getting that doe, breeding their doe anymore at that point in time. It's over with. So testosterone will just drive a deer to do crazy things. And during that peak rut time, if you guys have ever driven on a highway, I know we have a lot of younger, less than 18 listeners on here that are still in school and don't really drive yet. But if you guys end up driving on a highway at some point in your life, then you notice during the fall around Halloween, when it's pre-rut and peak rut, that's when there are just deer dead everywhere on the highways. Their testosterone levels go up. They kind of get stupid and crazy, and they do anything just for a breeding opportunity. And if they chase a doe across the street, they'll get hit by a Mack truck and just get splattered across everything. All right? They basically lose their survival skills during the peak rut because they're just stupid, and all they want is to breed that doe, and they will just do anything and disregard their own health. Hence why they lose from 25 to 40% of their body weight during this time of year, because they're not even focused on food. All they want to do is just get their seed in that doe and expand their genes and expand their quote unquote family. But it's not their family, it's expanding their genes and just letting their genes just last on throughout the years after he dies. That's their main purpose during that time of year. And a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but there will be certain times where these bucks will run so hard and exhaust themselves so much to a point to where they just die because they haven't eaten in a week or 2 weeks, and they haven't even stopped to drink. So at this time is when hunters end up taking advantage of the bucks, and being that their guard is down and they're willing to fight, they're willing to respond. This is when the mature bucks are at their most easiest time to kill, I'd say. During the rut, it's easier to fool them during the peak rut. All right, you rattle, you call, you catch them off guard just because they're chasing a doe. Maybe that doe brings them right into shooting range, and this is when hunters will make the advantage on taking a mature buck, just because they're getting stupid with their testosterone levels. So it drives them to do different things, and whether it spikes or plummets, it will cause different things throughout the year. So spikes, they're basically just getting super horny, and they're just their sex drive goes up like crazy. And when it plummets, that's when they get away from the whole breeding thing, and it goes back to food and warmth and but bedding and everything else, and just surviving. And that sharp drop off in testosterone after the rut through like the winter months, this is what causes deer to shed their antlers. All right, that sharp testosterone drop off, they will just lose their antlers, and from when it starts getting warmer again into the spring to where it spikes back up a little bit, that's when they start regenerating their antlers. So testosterone has a huge role in a deer's life, and just what they do on a daily basis and monthly basis, and just at each time of year, testosterone is the main driver, whether it's high or low. And as hunters, you have to take advantage of this. You have to learn it, and just know when that pre-rut is starting, that peak rut and that post-rut, on their testosterone levels and how aggressive they are. So that basically wraps that up. I think I said testosterone about 207 times in this video. Exaggeration, obviously, but I said it a bunch. And that wraps it up. All right, just follow their test levels, and I hope this taught you something new. And if you guys are curious about this, if you just search up testosterone with deer and what it does, there are plenty of articles and forums about this topic. But I hope I taught someone something new today. And if you learned something new, please share it with a buddy. Please share it with a friend. If you like the video or like the podcast, please like the video. And we post daily as much as we possibly can across all our social media platforms, from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Apple podcast platforms in general. We post as much as we possibly can on a daily basis. And if you guys want to learn all new hunting and fishing tactics and how to kill the biggest buck of your life this year and how to catch fish when the fish aren't biting, be sure to follow Obviously Outdoorsman on all the social media platforms. That is it, guys. I hope you enjoy your day and get after it. Get out there, work out, and just stay healthy. And just share this Obviously Outdoorsman podcast with someone if you think it is worth it for them to listen to. That is it, guys. I am Mike. We're Obviously Outdoorsman. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace out.